My name's Tess McNaughton. I work at the Galt Museum and Archives, and I am doing a queer historical walking tour of Lethbridge. I think it was important for me to show that Lethbridge, even though we are part of this Bible Belt, even though it feels like a very conservative town, there is a lot of 2S LGBTQIA+ pride and a lot of history that has always been here and continues to be here. Opened in July 7th, 1909, so that's some OG history right there. With the Castle Hotel, which are now the Castle Apartments, that was seen as kind of a place where people could be themselves in the sense that it was male only explicitly. It catered in particular to the theatrical trade, which we all know theatrical trade means gay. Reading between the lines once again with like queer history, right? So those are kind of rumors that you have to infer, like in all history, you're kind of connecting dots that may or may not be there. We talk about a couple houses where women lived together. They lived together, they owned a car together, it was so cute. Their boyfriends died at war, or they were just friends forever, or they were mentioned in each other's obituaries as lovely friends. Isn't that wild? A reason too why queer history isn't talked about earlier in the day is because people didn't feel safe, and to an extent I don't feel safe talking about queer things so proudly sometimes because you're opening yourself up and you're very vulnerable. I learned that the fire hall used to have a gay club in it called the Red Room, and the owner wanted it to be known as a specifically queer space. It was moved from a previous queer dance location at Croatian Hall up in the north, and people actually moved closer in town because while it was very discreet out there, people wanted a place where they could party in town more. It was specifically out of town and on this dirt road, and people wouldn't take taxis out there because they were scared of losing their jobs, or they were scared of losing their friends or their family. And this was in the 90s. It wasn't like this isn't old history. This was happening 100 years ago, but people were doing it inside their houses, or they were having balls that were kind of kept secret. While what I have is documented that's relatively new, it's always been happening. Queer perseverance. Queer spaces were easy to create but difficult to maintain. For starters, there's this level of secrecy that comes with it, that people don't really want to be, back in the day, campaigning to have support or have funds. So it's this stigma that comes with spaces that may not be inherently queer but provide queer support or queer access that aren't seen as a priority. Even libraries are such a place of queer joy, and those are always threatened. What I'm seeing now is a move from this club dance scene to a more focus on culture and connection and community. And I hope to see more of an intergenerational connection too. I think it's difficult because queer people don't have this lineage of connection. Typically your parents may or may not be queer, and your grandparents, and so you don't learn that culture from older people. You're typically just creating that culture with the immediate community around you, or people your age. So I really hope there's this change in connecting with all generations. In 2017, a track team from the U of L watched over the Pride crosswalk after it got tarred one day. And they watched over the crosswalk overnight so that nobody would vandalize it before Pride. I mentioned in my tour as this queer history because it's so important. So what I hope people take from this is that you are making history, you're making change with the choices that you make every day.